Good evening. My name is Alexander Hagan. I'm the CEO of a small, medium-sized tech company in Silicon Valley. Previously, I was a financial analyst and financial journalist, and tonight I want to concentrate on a document I've put together for you, specifically an analysis of the voting records of the House of Representatives, and specifically in the area of congressional legislation that attacks or legislation that counteracts the attacks on the fundamental rights of American citizens. Now, specific bills that we're concentrating on is the Foreign Intelligence and Surveillance Act. Now, the problem with this act, which allows wiretapping, warrantless wiretapping and surveillance of American citizens, is a total lack of transparency. It also provides immunity for collaboration in these enterprises. And most people are very concerned about the constitutionality and legality of this activity. Then we have the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, which essentially eliminates due process of a law, declaring America a permanent battlefield, which is just nightmarish and incomprehensible. And if it doesn't raise your eyebrows, there's something seriously wrong with the status quo of our society, like the frog in water that gradually heats until it dies. And then look at Amendment 1127, which specifically targeted removal of this provision surgically. Because a big bill, people can always explain their vote saying that, well, we had to pass the military budget, or there was this provision in it, or I made a deal about that. But when it's a specific, targeted, surgical focus on a severe problem like the elimination of your right to trial, your right to have residence presented against you, the fact the government can detain you permanently without trial, which is the most nightmarish prospect imaginable. Then we want to really focus on these amendments which deal with these targeted issues. And there's the NDAA 2013, which continued these anti-Bill of Rights practices and all of the doctoring of it. So the brief history of the NDAA in 10 seconds or less is, it turns out, I believe it was Carl Levinson, claimed that it was the Obama administration actually wanted to insert the language regarding American citizens, which the Obama administration denied. Then there was some talk that Obama signed it into law because he wanted it to be defeated in court. January 1st, it was signed into law by his robo-pen, as we know. It was, in fact, struck down by a courageous judge. But then it was the striking down of it as being unconstitutional was stayed by an appellate court in the Washington, D.C. district, which is known for being very pro-military industrial complex. So those of us who thought this law had been substantially quashed, these horrible totalitarian provisions of it, wake up, because it was stayed. And there was also talk that, well, now fine, Obama got what he wanted. It was struck down, but within 24 hours, Obama administration attorneys reinstated it. Then there's the CISPA, which is the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection Act, which has, in particular for me, the problem is that if you had a website, it could be shut down just on reasonable suspicion by your internet provider. Becomes a judge and jury of your right to express yourself, and can shut down your website for copyright infringement on whatever grounds they like. Then there is H.R. 347, which allows substantial prison time for protesting too close to a Secret Service agent, as Ron Paul used to put it, these special persons, which is a horrific bill that was passed almost unanimously in the House, I'm sad to say. Then there is the U.S.-Israel Security Cooperation Act, which essentially says that Israel should always maintain a military advantage over all possible opponents. Now, this is a big problem because most of our arms sales are to their opponents. Saudi Arabia and Qatar could certainly not be viewed as pro-Israeli countries. And we've sold apparently $140 billion worth of arms to them, which is an inconceivably large number if you study arms sales since Obama came into office. Now, with the Israel qualitative edge and all of that, that means we would have to give them $140 billion worth of free arms because of this type of legislation. It comes in as military aid because Israel can't possibly afford these massive expenditures. Then I looked at the Iran sanctions, which is a warlike act. And it indicates further aggressive military-industrial tendencies in Congress, or being co-opted or bought out or silenced or threatened, whatever it is, that people don't have the intestinal fortitude to stand up to pressure groups. These are both given half weighting, because obviously Jewish members of Congress are going to tend to support Israel, and as Finkelstein likes to say, wash their dirty laundry not in public but in private. And then finally, Audit the Fed, and the Audit the Fed bill to provide transparency into the Federal Reserve. The basic argument why we need to do this is because the Federal Reserve is loaning money to banks essentially for free, which is a license to print money. It's also a license to make money for doing no work effectively, and creates an acceleration of concentration of wealth, enriches elites, and it makes it possible to have these massive deficits where most of the money we're spending in this country, most of the expansion of our federal budget and federal deficits really related to the intelligence community and the military period. So here is the actual meat of the matter. This is the document that I've created. So in this document, we see I have set this up. You can see it online. I will just reference back to here the analysis, and it's the hyperlink is here. And what I've done is NDAA, CISPA, no protesting, the anti-Occupy bill, FISA, 1127 is the amendment to remove indefinite detention clause from NDAA. We're on sanctions, weighted at 0.5 point. HR 4133, the U.S.-Israeli Cooperation Act, also weighted at 0.5 point. Audit the Fed, normal. I haven't included the Bomb Iran bill yet, and the NDAA 2013. So this should give you a pretty idea of who is for peace and the people and who is against it. Any bills that you want to add, I'd be curious to hear. So first of all, let's do a brief analysis. Now, unfortunately, for those of you who are Libertarian Republicans, your species is indeed in danger. In, I think it's the 113th Congress. This Congress it's exiting in January. Of course, almost all the incumbents are reelected. Additionally, there are no independents in the House of Representatives whatsoever. So we have an absolute stranglehold and lock by the Republican and Democratic parties. So what we've got here is 7 Republicans consistently tend to vote against totalitarian laws. Let's look at who those people are briefly. Download this spreadsheet with Google. The way you do this is you sort, first of all, on their tendency to vote against the constitutional, our goals of people power, basically. And then let us sort by party. I think that will do it. And now we go down and look at the Republicans. And let's go to the very bottom here, down to around 435, where we'll see our Republican friends here. So Justin Amash, Ron Paul, Tim Johnson, Walter Beaman Jones, Tom McClintock, John Jimmy Duncan, Christopher Chris Gibson are all in are this small little group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now here you'll see the worst is actually Paul Ryan, Steve Stivers, and quite a large assemblage of people who vote virtually down the line against our rights and for war and to hide the Federal Reserve. So how many of them are there here? that basically vote down the line. Let's see, we'll start at 194 and we'll go to a -6, which means, it's about 200 people. So the way I did the analysis on this is that there are 242 Republicans in the total. 216 of them consistently vote for totalitarian laws. 89.26% of all Republicans. Of Democrats, 34 are totalitarian. So who are the Democratic totalitarians? And the basic thing I'm trying to get you guys to do, you ladies and gentlemen, is to consider supporting people to run against these people. So let's look at the totalitarian Democrats now. And so here in California, Dennis Cardoza has resigned abruptly, so that's sort of good. Jim Costa, Sanford Bishop, John Barrow, Lipinski, Chandler, Ropersberger, Levin, Sander Levin, McIntyre, Kissel, McCarthy, Boren, Cuellar, Matheson, Joe Donnelly, William Bill Owens, Jim Cooper, Charles Gonzalez, Norm Dix, Albio Sires, Joseph Heath Schuler. Oh, now we're out of California. I'm sorry. So let's do it by state, actually. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sort by state. Sort by state. And then we're going to sort by party. Whoops, and then sort by state. And so what we've got here now, so Anna Eshoo, Lynn Woolsey, Barbara Lee, and ironically the one most viciously targeted by the Chronicle, Pete Stark, Janice Hahn, Maxine Waters, Sam Farr, Zoe Lofgren, Mike Honda, Barbara Lee, Lynn Woolsey. So now when I was looking at, so who are the best in Congress, I noticed another trend, which is targeting for removal. So now let us go back to sorting by the level of totalitarian support and look at who are the best, who have the best records in Congress. Let's see. So Kucinich, he was redistricted out of existence. Amash had his job removed from him as a finance man. Stark was targeted. Hansen Clarke also was targeted, and he's half Bangladeshi and half black. His district was thrown into chaos, and he was taken out. And the same thing happened to Cynthia McKinney earlier. So I suggest that you look at this in careful detail to find the people that are true supporters of our Constitution, and we'll just end briefly by looking at, so 49%, 50% of all Republicans, of all of our Congress, are Republicans that vote for totalitarian laws, the military-industrial complex, and hiding the elite. 7.8.2% of Democrats, and then 25% usually vote against our interests. So 56% vote always against our interests, 25% usually, and 22% vote for our interests. So it's important to support these folks, put pressure on these folks, and run against these folks in particular. But if you live in a district where you already have a good congressperson, don't let that stop you from having your friends run, because if they're good, they can get another job influencing public policy. My name is Alexander Hagan. Good night and good luck.